is even on those games where they're getting beaten, and sometimes beaten well, because let's face it, does happen, is that they still score the last try somehow. They still find a way to build that momentum because they know how important that is. If you're a Queensland State of Origin fan, you're going to love this. If you're a New South Wales fan, maybe not so much, but begrudgingly, you'll probably accept that I'm right. And if you're a neutral, maybe don't even follow rugby league, you're going to take heaps out of this anyway, because it's the principle of making sure that you're building momentum for your very next performance. I'm Ian Hawkins, and this is Sport is Life. The purpose of sport, as I see it, is to see your vision become a reality. Find your voice, create strong connections, and learn to trust your body. Have you heard the old adage from writers about getting out on a high? Well, actually, it's not just writers, but lots of creatives. Instead of, when they're on a roll, continuing and continuing until that roll dried up, they focus on getting out on a high. Now, why do they do that? Because they know, the ones who do it like that, who do it well, that they know that momentum, whatever it is, will be carried on to next time. If you get out at the moment where you've lost inspiration, you've lost ideas, and you're scratching your head, that's the momentum you'll bring in to the next time you sit down. If you get out in a high when things are going well, and it's just dawned on me as I record my fifth or sixth episode of this podcast in a row, because I'm on a bit of a roll. Maybe I should get out after this episode. If you finish on a high, that's the momentum you'll bring back the next time. You'll actually have a desire to want to do it. You'll be excited about doing it because you'll have that same emotional connection to that final moment. It's so powerful. Yet how often in your life do you just keep flogging yourself, keep grinding away, keep pushing away, and not really making good progress because of this idea that you just have to get it done, that you have to be busy, that you have to continue pushing through? Now, don't get me wrong, there are times where you need to push through. You need to have the discipline and willpower, but not if you are then becoming unproductive, if you're actually time wasting, if the quality of your work has decreased, because then you'll bring that same momentum into next time. I'll give you an example from the sporting world, and it was the title for this particular episode. The Queensland State of Origin team has always been known for playing it to the end, never quitting. And they've got a record of having these amazing comebacks. But the other thing they've got a record of is, even on those games where they're getting beaten, and sometimes beaten well, because let's face it, does happen, is that they still score the last try somehow. They still find a way to build that momentum because they know how important that is. They know how important it is to continue to fight, even when the game's lost. And if the other team's winning and they've switched off and they're in cruise mode, even more reason to get up and about and to have that real positive finish. Now, I've got to be honest, I'm extremely thankful and joyful that this year the Blues, the New South Wales team, seem to have that momentum. They seem to be the team that finished the games stronger. Maybe not game one when they had the send off, but even then they performed at a really high level with a player down. Anyway, I digress. I'm enjoying the moment still for the Queensland fans. I'm sorry, not sorry. We've had a tough run the last 15 years, so any success is gladly received. Actually, it's probably more than 15 years. The point is that they know the benefit. They know if they go in at the end of that game with that focus of just how badly they got beaten and how they ended with a whimper, then that's what they're going to bring in, that sort of energy. But instead, bringing that positive momentum of, okay, we might not have won, but we finished the stronger. We were still going, even though we were getting beat. We made sure, scored that last try. We were right in the contest still. So what areas of your life are you getting stuck in the grind? Are you trying to push past that place when really you need to get out when the momentum's high? What areas are you not finishing the job well when you know that you've got extra effort and you've got the discipline to do it and you're kind of just going, near enough's good enough? What can you learn from that reputation that the Queensland State of Origin side has? What momentum can you take in to the next time you perform that certain task? What positivity can you take across? Because it's really hard to flick a switch. I remember as a manager at Fox Sports when I couldn't find the next level of progression for staff. I know this is something the McDonald's do really well too, is I would always look to help them find a job elsewhere, whether it was another department in the building or at another workplace. Because to me, it was about getting the best out of the person while they were there, whatever their journey was going to be. And I'll say the same thing that I said to them, which is don't feel like, okay, you know your future's elsewhere and you're working towards that, that don't feel like you can just cruise now, because that's the momentum you'll take into the new job. And even one specifically where I'd help them to find a new job elsewhere because whether it was a culture mismatch or just they'd been there too long or whatever it was, but we helped her get her value really clear, her personal brand really clear, and helped her to have the confidence to find that new job. And then just having that conversation, make sure that you still keep trying to keep yourself up, do the best you can in this environment, even though it's not something that you necessarily love, so you can take that momentum. So then when you hit that new job, you're absolutely flying. I've heard coaches say when they've limped into the final series and then got bundled out and then said, well, we knew we were going up against it because we didn't bring good momentum in. It's why quite often these teams that are on a bit of a roll when they enter the final series might win the next game or two against some of those sides further up the ladder that have kind of limped in and not playing too well. Now, there's another story about maybe some of those teams that have been redlining for a long time and then hitting a wall against the much better opposition. But there's definitely something to be said for that momentum. You can't flick a switch when you hit finals. You can't flick a switch when you hit a new job. You can't flick a switch when you are going to sit down and do that task if the momentum that you're bringing in from the previous game or the previous moment is poor. Some perhaps might argue the point and say that they can. I would say that would be a rarity rather than the norm. And for most of us, it's all about the momentum. So be that sort of performer, because that's going to be the key to unlocking even better results for you. Now, if you haven't already, make sure you go to the show notes and follow me on Instagram. There you're going to see heaps of highlights of not only these individual episodes, but the interviews that I've done. Saves you trawling through all the episodes, trying to find something that catches your eye. You'll be able to see some highlights there, some short versions of the interviews, and look for the one that grabs your attention. Make sure you give me a follow there so I can get in front of more people. And as always, I appreciate you doing anything that you can to help us build this vision to grow the Sport is Life movement. You've taken the time to listen to this whole episode. Now it's time to take action. Commit to one thing you've learned today and make it happen. And to avoid any obstructions, join the Sport is Life movement by clicking on the link in the show notes.